Hey everyone. So just while we're waiting for that, I might just do some quick introductions. So my name is Owen Ryan. I am the Social Impact Manager for Social Innovation Fund. And to my left and on the screen to my right, I have Aisling Redmond, who is Social Impact Analyst, but is also leading on the Animate Fund. So Aisling is the expert when it comes to all of these questions. But between the two of us, we hope we're providing you with a platform that allows you to ask any questions that you have associated with the fund or associated with the application form. We're going to try and keep it, our part at least, as short and sharp as possible. I don't know where you are in Ireland, but it is pretty hot in Dublin. And hence why we have the blinds down behind us and have canisters of water at the ready. So look, we'll try and get through it as quickly as we can, but also try and get as much information that's relevant to you as possible and give you the opportunity to ask as many questions that you have. There's obviously the opportunity for you to email us as well. And the last holding slide will have Aisling's details on it. And I'm sure you'll be able to navigate the website to find her details as well. So I'm just going to keep going. There doesn't seem to be anything in the live chat to suggest that there's a problem with the sound. So what I might do at this point is just do a quick format of what we're going to cover. So as I mentioned, Aisling is the expert, so she's going to talk to a lot of what the fund offers. The fund is obviously split between 2 awards, one of which is 20,000 and is an early stage innovation, and 10 of which are centered around what we call Healthy Community Awards. So Aisling's going to talk a bit more about that. What's an SDG, Sustainable Development Goal? Aisling is going to tell you everything you need to know, so you are crystal clear about how this interfaces with the application process. Just to bring it down to a more real level, we're actually going to speak and show a demonstration of one of our previous winners that is actually a great example of an early stage innovation, but also an example of an early stage innovation that promotes healthy communities. So Aisling's going to talk through one of these winners, and we'll also speak about a couple of other winners just to give you a flavor for the types of projects that we think would be suitable for either fund. I'm then going to come back in and speak about the application form itself, and just a few top tips that helps you write the best application that you can, describe the problem, really explain the solution, and also include your impact in your plans for scale. And then, as I say, we'll leave as much time as possible at the end for questions that you might have. And obviously there is also the live chat on the right-hand side of your YouTube page where you can type in questions. I'll be gathering these furiously as the webinar goes on, and we'll try and get through as many of these questions as we possibly can at the end. So without further ado, I will pass over to the Animate Fund lead, Aisling Redmond, who's going to talk us a bit around the fund itself and what it offers.
Okay. So just so everyone's aware, Animate has 2 elements this year. The first element is for early stage innovation. So this is open to any social issue and for projects at an early stage that could be combating issues such as poverty, educational disadvantage. It's wide open. We're looking for 1 awardee for that, and so they will receive €10,000 in cash and 10,000 in non-financial supports. So the Healthy Communities Award is the second element of Animate, and really we've partnered with Medtronic on this element to look for community-focused ideas to address health issues in their local area. And what we've found is that these can be quite open, and we're looking for projects that are focused on improving health outcomes, up to physical health, mental health, addiction. It's quite an open fund itself. So really the objective with Animate is to find and back these innovative community projects, be they focused on health or on a particular social issue. And what we've done with the Healthy Communities Award is we positioned it around the SDGs, which we'll talk a little bit more around later. So, as I've said, the fund is offering a share of 200,000 for the Healthy Communities Award. So this again is 10,000 in cash and 10,000 in non-financial supports. And from all of our programs and funds at this point, we found that the non-financial supports tend to be the most beneficial to projects, even though initially they may be more inclined for the cash awards. So the non-financial supports itself, we try to tailor this to the specific needs of each awardee. So while I don't want to define what it is at this moment, it's quite open. It'll include mentoring, growth planning, business planning, maybe HR. What we do is when someone is awarded a project, we sit down with them and we work out what we think would benefit their project, but also take into account what you think would be most beneficial. So as part of that, you get a 3 to 4 month program, which again is including those bespoke elements we talked about a bit earlier. So like I said, we're looking for projects focused on health outcomes, so physical health, mental health, addiction. These are quite open. If you have any knowledge of the SDGs, we are focused around the health award, the health goal. So that's goal 3 in the SDGs. And I'll talk a little around that in a bit, but just so you're aware, our applications are for not-for-profit organizations. So we feel that applicants are most likely to come from charities, voluntary organizations, community groups, social enterprises, and other not-for-profits. So the Sustainable Development Goals, I suppose, can be a bit daunting. So just to give you a bit of an idea of what it is, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are the first targets ever established for both developing and developed countries, which has an aim to improve the well-being and basically a standard of life globally. There's 17 goals with 169 targets. So while we have focused particularly on goal 3, which is health, we are not expecting projects to address a global issue, but what we feel at Social Innovation Fund and in partnership with Medtronic is that we believe in the power of local communities to make a difference in their local area. And we believe that these solutions can have a bigger effect that can have a knock-on effect to global issues and greater inequalities. So that's where we're positioning. So we're asking projects that if you're applying for the Healthy Communities Award to position your application in reference to one of the targets set under goal 3. Animate itself, we opened last year, just to give you an idea, and it was an open call for any early stage innovation. But in that, we received 2 applications and 2 awardees, shall we say, actually, focused around health. And so one of these would Save a Selfie. So Sean here in this video is a Dublin fireman who noticed that all around the country, we have no national record of where defibrillators are. And obviously, he felt that this was lacking in his current job, and he actively created an app which would crowdsource information and ask people to upload images and the whereabouts and geotag the location of these defibrillators so that they could be found more readily. But just so it kind of comes to life for you a bit, we have a video here that I'm playing, so you can have a look at. Just to give you a bit then on Sean. Sean worked hard in partnership with volunteers from the Order of Malta to work to gather this information. And so at this point, he has managed to source approximately 3,000 defibrillators around the country and has now moved on to including other elements such as life rings and etc. And Sean would be an advocate of the value of the programs that we offer at Social Innovation Fund through networks, through peer mentoring, through having that collegial support. Sean greatly benefited from our first Animate program. We're hoping that our next awardees will also gain the same kind of benefit, as well as understanding that they can use us to get on to the next stage. We are there to help. We are there to open doors as much as we can, and really it is what you make of it. And Sean would be the best testament to that. He took every opportunity that arose and used our networks to the fullest of extent. So Owen is now going to talk around the tips on the application form, just to give you a bit of guidance around applying.
Thanks very much, Aisling. That was very clear in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals, because I think it's a very strong belief of Medtronic and both ourselves that these Sustainable Development Goals really are they're a starting point for each project. They're really something to create a community conversation around, but also to commence good practice around linking towards high-level objectives, and I think are hugely beneficial for each project to be tracking and tracing their progress against chosen metrics across the world. So really, just what I would add to that is to look at goal 3, to look at all the sub goals that are there, and just really try and picture where your project is. There's no definite right or wrong, but just try and self-identify your project with the sub goal that best identifies the issue that you're trying to solve. So in Sean's case, I think it's 3.1.8, where he's actually trying to reduce mortality rate as a result of cardiac arrest. And what he's identified there is, well, if there are more defibrillators, if there are more locations of these defibrillators and people know where they are, every minute increases the chance of saving a life. And Sean can see himself in that goal, and as a result, that's the goal that he selected. Again, if you need any help with it, please reach out. We're always at the end of an email. Aisling will answer all the questions that she can. I'll obviously support as well where I can, but we really ask you to reach out if you're unsure about anything. We're here to help. So this brings me forward to the application form itself. And what I might ask Aisling to do now is just to bring us to the Social Innovation Fund website. Because on the website, we've tried to lay out as simply as possible all of the information that you need to understand who we are as an organization at Social Innovation Fund Ireland, what our vision is, what our mission is, what we mean by innovation, and what really drives every fund that we have open at the moment is our standard criteria. So I'm going to ask Aisling just to scroll down to these standard criteria, and it's actually my first tip for the application form. Really try and spend time to understand these standard criteria, to understand how your project fits these criteria, because what you'll start to notice is the language and the structure of the standard criteria is mirrored across the application form. So the project must address a critical social issue. You will have an opportunity, actually, in the very first question of the application form, to call out what is the critical social that you're trying to solve. And I suppose just on that, what we call a Mad Lib, I'd really ask you to use the Mad Lib to, as short as possible, identify what is the issue you're trying to solve, what is the project that you have, what's its solution, who else do you believe is doing things similarly to what you're solving, an issue similarly to how you're trying to solve it, and why are you different? I'd really encourage you to be able to try and say that in one line, because it really it bookmarks the start of your application form, and it really makes it easier for the screeners, for the reviewers, for eventually the interviewers to understand in 2 lines who you are, the problem you're trying to solve, the impact that you have, and how you're different, how you're innovative. So the second standard criteria would be around what I've just discussed in terms of the solution proposed must be innovative in an Irish context. And this actually talks to a question that Mike had on the live chat in why do we focus on innovation? Our mission essentially is to find and back the best solutions to solve social issues, to provide these solutions with a cash grant and non-financial supports so that they can maximize their impact and subsequently scale all across Ireland. We don't believe in reinventing the wheel, and we believe in trying to find the best solutions to the critical social issues, and the efficiencies of scaling that solution is for the benefit of all of society. So that's really what we mean by innovation, and that's why there's a focus on it, Mike, is because we are trying to find the best solution to a social issue in Bantry. Why doesn't that happen in Belmullet? Why doesn't it happen in Donegal? At the moment, it's not happening as much as we would like. So our mission is essentially to go out and find those best solutions, to provide them with supports that allow them to scale in the best possible manner. So the third standard criteria is the solution must have the potential and desire to scale or replicate in Ireland. So you'll notice in the application form that there is a section about scaling and replication. What we mean by scale is that your organization scales the solution itself as an organization. What we mean by replication is that you would readily identify that as an organization that is in Wexford, you don't have the capacity as an organization to scale to Mayo, to scale to Donegal, but you are very open to creating a model that is replicable. So an organization potentially in Mayo or in Donegal can pick up that model and can use it to solve the social issue in their local area. So that's the difference between the two, and it's a question that we get time and again over the last few funds that we've run. Just running through the standard criteria again, the solution must provide evidence that it's up and running and has been tested in at least a minimum way. Tell us what you've done. Tell us if the solution is up and running, what impact, what metrics have you got? And if you've tested it, what have you learned from the testing? We really encourage an evidence base. We really encourage people that pilot their solutions, that learn from the lessons that they've learned, and actually include those in the implementation of their solution.
Can I just interject there
Sure,
as well?
yeah.
Just on the testing. So this has been a question I've been dealing with at the moment. And just if you do have research that indicates that another, I suppose, element of your solution will work, and you've seen best practice and you have the research, you have the demand, I would encourage you to have a look at the application, see if you fit the other criteria, and if you do feel that you have enough research and you know there's a need in Ireland for it, then I would encourage you to make an application, because that is testing to an extent. I mean, it's not that it's up and running, but it is testing to prove that there is a need, there is a demand, and there is a solution that works. It just might not be here yet.
Thanks for that, Aisling. And it is a key question that we get asked time and time again. Again, guys, what I would reiterate is, if you're unsure, ask the question of us. We'll try and help you any way we can. We're not here to trip you up. We're trying to help you as much as possible to make the application process as easy as it is, and for you to get across the message that you're trying to communicate in the application form. So the last two criteria, Aisling touched on the fact that applicants must come from an entity that is a not-for-profit legal form. So examples of this would be a charity, would be a social enterprise, would be a voluntary organization. Some not-for-profit legal forms would be a CLG, which is a company limited by guarantee, or an unincorporated association. And there's a list of those on the internet if you want to research them further to see whether you guys fall within that legal form. The last thing, and very important to touch on what Aisling just said, that it is based on the island of Ireland and will make its main impact in the Republic of Ireland. So maybe it is a solution that works in Holland. A perfect example of that is a past winner of Animate from last year, which was CareBright, who actually went around Europe. We're looking to solve with an innovative solution, how can we cater and care for people that are suffering with dementia, so that the first solution isn't just to send them to the nursing home. How can we assist them to live at home as long as possible, to empower them to not suffer from loneliness, but also to live independently as much as they can. And there's a perfect example of something that they hadn't readily tested in Ireland, but they understood that the solution worked. They had done the research. They were also a reputable company that had dealt with the issue in a number of other forms, but the solution itself hadn't been tested in Ireland. And Today, they're in the final stages of building a self-contained village down in Bruff in County Limerick with, I think, up to 30 or 40 units of the highest spec of dementia care. So a great example of a past Animate winner using an early stage innovation and using testing and research from another country. So that is the standard fund criteria. If I go back to our 5 top tips, I've kind of teetered around the edges of the other 4, but let me just quickly go through items 2 to 5. So the problem, guys, questions 2 and 3. We understand that you have a very good feeling and understanding for the problem that you're trying to solve, but what we would encourage is that you get your point across in the shortest possible form, so that you're using facts, you're using evidence-based, and you're using figures to give us the confidence that you've researched your market, that you understand the problem, that you understand what the alternative solutions are out there of solving that problem, and you communicate that in the best possible manner in your application form. So moving on to the solution. So the solution, there's 2 ways of communicating the solution. Actually, just to touch on one of the questions that we were asked, is producing a video essential for the application form? It's not critical, but we find that it is hugely useful for us to understand 2 things. You as a person in your organization, also how you're able to communicate the problem, the solution, and the impact of your project. And it also, we just find it's really good practice for the interview itself. You're not going to have a huge amount of time in the interview. What we ask people to do in the first 5 minutes is tell us how. We'll have read the application form, we'll have understood the problem, we'll have read all the details of the application form. Just use the video to tell us how it works. And the point that I would make, or the tip that I would give around the solution, is tell a story. Use someone that is benefiting from your project today and tell it through what we call a user journey. So if Joan is in County Westmeath, she's 85 years of age, she can't access the local community hall, and your idea is for Pat to go around and pick people up in a minivan and also assist them with any physical therapy needs, then tell it through a story so that we fully understand the solution. And you can always back that up with further narrative, but we just find that the user journey is sometimes a nice, neat way upfront of telling the story of your project. So moving on to the 4th point, the impact. So what we mean by impact is, what has your project delivered to date? What are the metrics that you use? So the example that I just gave is Pat picks up a number of people in any given week. So maybe a metric there is that it's number of older people that he picks up in any given week. Really have it, if you've got data, if you've got metrics that you use, please share them with us. Show us that you are collecting data, that you understand the problem, that the solution that you're proposing is being tracked and measured, and include the data wherever possible. And the 5th, and probably in some cases the most important tip, is if you're not sure, just ask us. So I've given out Aisling's email address on a number of occasions at this stage. We're here to help. Aisling@socialinnovation.ie is the first port of call. Aisling is all across the fund. She'll answer any questions to the best of her ability that she can. If she can't answer them, I'm here as well. We really just want to support you to put in the best application that you can, because we understand that it takes time. We're completely cognizant of that. We understand that not everyone can be a recipient of the award, but we just want to put you in the best possible position to put in the best application that you can, and ultimately give yourself the best opportunity to be one of the recipients, to be one of the awardees eventually. So look, I might hold things there quite nicely at 2:30, and we might just open up the floor to questions. So there are a number of questions that we have in the live chat. So what I encourage people to do is, if you have more questions, please type them in now. We'll just deal with the questions that we have to date on a one-by-one basis. And when we've gotten through all those questions, we might give you an opportunity to ask some more questions with the time that we have left. So I'm going to start with a question that I touched on during my talk, which was Mike was asking the question, why the focus on innovative? Mike, I hope I have answered that. Obviously, our mission as Social Innovation Fund Ireland and being created by government is to find and back the best solutions that are out there in Ireland, because whilst we're really, really good at putting time and energy into solving social issues, we're not very good at scaling the best ideas. So what we mean by innovation is, and people have asked us this question before, so it's good to clarify. We don't necessarily mean that it has to be, you know, the most high-tech solution. It really just needs to recognize that a social issue in Ireland isn't being addressed. And if a social issue in Ireland isn't being addressed, then by default, the solution that you're proposing is innovative, because in an Irish context, that social issue is not being addressed. So we don't want people to people to think, oh, we're not innovative, we're not, you know, we're not in the innovation space. Really read through the web page, really understand the standard criteria. If the social issue is not being addressed in Ireland and you have a solution, as simple as it might be, I mean, Sean's Save a Selfie innovation is a really simple idea, but it wasn't there. And by right, that is then a very innovative solution to a very critical social issue in an Irish context. So I hope, Mike, that provides a bit of clarity for you. And Mike, just on your other point, sincere apologies for the sound not working on the video. What I would say is, if you go into our website, Aisling is also going to put a link into the webinar as well, just around the video description, and you to those videos, because it's very useful to look at the journeys that the past winners of Animate have made, to give you a better feel for the question, Mike, that you have asked: what's innovative, what's not. I think those 4 past Animate winners will really give you the confidence that the solution that you have is indeed innovative and allows you to put in the best application that you can. So moving on to the second question from Kate, I'm going to hand this one over to Aisling, but I'm just going to call it out. So Kate has asked the question, does community project imply grassroots community work and not established organizations? So very good question, Kate, and Aisling, I think, has the answer for you.
Yeah, so I mean, the answer is no, it doesn't disqualify established organizations. Really, it's around the other criteria. So whether it is addressing a critical social issue, whether if it's applying for the Healthy Communities Award, if it's addressing a health issue, particularly if it's positioned strongly under the SDGs. So we're open, in a sense, to applications from any organization, as long as they are not-for-profit. So
another question around, is the fact that you're a previous recipient of Medtronic funding an issue? It's not, in short. This is a standalone fund with standalone awards, and that is not something that will hinder your application.
Mm-hmm.
So just another question coming in. I'm going to read it out, and I'm hoping Aisling can answer this, because I know she's dealt with the question already. Matt has asked the question, we have a potential for 2 submissions. Should we submit both?
Yeah, I mean, if you think if both applications are separate, if both projects, my apologies, are separate, then yes, you can make an application for each. But just at a later point in the selection process, we will only proceed with 1 application, but this will be dependent upon the fulfillment of the criteria.
Okay, another very succinct answer. Thanks very much for that, Aisling. So we're now at a point, guys, where we have gone through all of the questions. I just want to put it out to the floor. Are there any other questions from anyone that's watching right now? Any other burning questions? I might just give a couple of minutes for that, and I'll just talk a bit to a couple of other questions that we've received in the past associated with the application form. Mm-hmm. So there's a guide in terms of a word count. The reason that the guide is in there is because we believe for the questions that we're asking, you should be able to describe, for instance, the problem in 200 words. And we'd really encourage you to, at least, if you feel like you need to say more, then that's absolutely fine. But we really encourage you to use, for instance, the first 100 words to very succinctly describe. So if someone, for whatever reason, if it's an interviewer, what's the most important information that you want to get across? Put that at the top of your at the top of your answer. If there is additional information that you really feel is necessary to add, then add that down at the bottom. So be very conscious about the information that you're including in those first 100 to 200 words. What I say to people that ring up and ask about the answers is, really, you want the most important information to jump off the page. So there's lots of ways of doing that, and everyone has preferences. Some people like to use bullet points, some people like to use a narrative, and they like to use well-spaced out paragraphs. But please, please, please ensure that the information that you really want front and center is up at the top of your answer. If there is more information that you really believe is necessary to include, then that's absolutely fine. It's okay to go over the word count, but just be cognizant of the fact that there are lots of application forms, there are lots of answers to go through. So just to give yourself that best possible chance, really have the most important information at the top of your answer to give yourself the best possible opportunity of proceeding to the interview stage and obviously beyond onto the awards itself. The second question, the second kind of common question that I would get and have to answer is, I suppose it's around the balance and the flow of the application itself. So it's specifically set out so it answers all of the standard criteria. So what I always say to people is, read the question, read the language of the question, and ensure that you're replicating the language of the question in your answer, and ensure that the standard criteria forms part of the language that you use to answer the questions that are being asked, because ultimately they are the standard criteria that form the basis for our analysis. So it's just, I mean, look, it might sound like the advice that you get sitting down doing your leaving cert, but it does apply for any application form that you fill out. And we really do find that some of the better written applications are the ones that really stick to the criteria, really use the language of the criteria and use the language of the question in their answer, and that their point really gets across in the simplest and most succinct way. So those would be the two kind of pieces of feedback that I would be always be giving to unsuccessful applicants for our other funds. And again, we want to share as much feedback as possible. So we've got another question that's come in from Lasheen's House. Is there a geographical balance in giving out the awards? Aisling, I'm going to bounce that one to yourself.
So what we do is we open the call to all applications, and we try very hard to spread the news of the call around Ireland. And we open it up, we promote it, and we take all the applications. Now, what we do is we grade each application on criteria. And so it's very much standard. It's how close an application meets the criteria and how much it's, I suppose, it's fulfilling it in the best way. So we wouldn't be like specifically looking for projects in Cork or in Dublin, but we would be looking for the best ideas out there, and we're not restricted in where they come from. We would be looking for the most the best fulfillment of the criteria. Okay,
I hope that answers your question, Lasheen's House. Okay, so we've got one more question in from Transformative College. Do you have a Word document of the online application to work on offline for applications? Very good question. Yes, So this is something that people have been asking, and we are absolutely happy to provide this. So what I would suggest that we do is we will upload a copy of this to the Animate page. We did that for Engage and Educate. It'll be a PDF format, but I mean, that still allows you to edit and work on it offline. So we will do that this afternoon and upload it onto, like I say, the Animate 2017 webpage.
Yeah, exactly. So just on another section of the application form, I'd like to stress is we have a part called How Can Animate Help You? And so while the rest of the application largely focuses on your organization or on your project, this section is geared towards your individual motivation or your group motivation. So bear that in mind when answering that question. It's referring to the applicant who's going to take part in the program should they be successful. It's asking for their motivation and their background and kind of why that has helped them to be in a position to see this project succeed.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Aisling. So guys, we've got a couple of minutes left. It doesn't look like there's any more questions coming through. So I might just finish with a couple of asks from you guys. And this is to the point that Lisheen's house made. We obviously want as many ideas from as many parts of Ireland. Please spread the word as much as you can. And again, if anyone has any questions, points of clarification, be it whether to apply for the fund itself or the application form in particular, just ask the question. We're here to help. We appreciate again that the application forms are a time-consuming process, so we want to put you in the best possible position to be a recipient of award and basically help you to tell the story as best you can. So I'll just finish on the deadline is the 7th of July. That's a Friday, and it is 5 p.m. So you've got plenty of time still to complete your application form.